Workforce Investment Board. And bear with me as I get everything started. Let me get back to where I can share my screen. Oh, that's fun. It kind of disappeared on me. Okay, so
It's okay. Take your time, Sheena. That's fine.
thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. There we go. Let me escape some full screen and it'll let me do some things. Um, there we go. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen in the presentation mode. Thank you so much.
All right, good deal. So I have been with the Department of Labor for 7 years now, working on the front lines with job seekers, with businesses, and I have been working with the Workforce Investment Board with apprenticeship for the past 2 years. And I came into the field to help others explore different career opportunities. And my first taste of apprenticeship was working with the university system with the automotive and diesel technology department with Kelly Smith. And so that gave me my first start and showed me how powerful the apprenticeship model can be. And so thank you for letting me share that with you today. So what I have learned as I started an apprenticeship is there aren't very clear lines to apprenticeship. And as I did a deeper dive, I'm learning that the education and workforce system are not well aligned. And that results in us losing youth to other states, even though we have great programs here to train them. And so registered apprenticeship can be a great way to earn and learn while you're also getting a degree, but it's not a model that is being used intensely across our state yet. So what we know is that of the students who go to college right after high school to get a degree, that it is only working for 24% of them. So just less than a quarter of these students are successful with obtaining a degree with that model. And so we're learning that even though 53% of graduates, high school graduates, enroll in college, only 42% of them are really returning for that second year. So how can we make this work better and work for young people and people returning to college? So I bet many of you have your own experience with going to school and working and trying to obtain a degree. And so we know that people quit for great reasons. We know that 66% it's your health or emotional stress. You find that balancing work and home and school life is just too much. And so you quit out, you stop out. And so that's where we lose people from gaining those skills that we desperately need in the workforce. And so 58% stop because they don't have enough money or resources to make it all happen. So whether that's they don't have the funds to pay for college, or they don't have the funds to pay for everything else and college. And one of the ways apprenticeship can be an answer is because one of the things that we can often pay for is that technical instruction that might be part of an apprenticeship program. We know that time, you only have so many hours in the day. And the older you get, the harder it is to burn it at both ends like you used to. So having time for family and caring for others in your family, it can be taxing. And only 19% drop out because it's too hard for them or it's not the right fit. And one of the things I want to reiterate is that going to college is a very expensive way to do career development, and I don't recommend it. So there's a lot of ways to learn about different careers before you bite into going to college. So one of the things that we think about at the Department of Labor are the changing demographics of our state. And we are deeply concerned about the loss of people between 18 and 24. Our working age people are leaving the state. Across every age sector was the last statistic I saw, that it's dropping at about 3% every year. And so my goal and part of the SAFE grant is to keep young people in our state and hopefully keep all of the other people we've got too. So right now, youth are critical to our future, and we want to capture them and keep them before they head someplace else. And I know many of you are educators, and so I will be focusing on looking at what courses you're offering, and hopefully talking with each of you about how we can up the dual credit options and align with apprenticeship programs or create apprenticeship programs in your community that will help prevent this negative net migration. So I hear a lot about what people think apprenticeship is. And I want you to realize one important thing. Apprenticeship is always a paid job with on-the-job training and related instruction. So it's always a job. And so many people confuse apprenticeship with um, internships or a work study. It's really not that. Apprenticeship means there is a progressive line of work. You come in as an apprentice and you build your way up to journey worker. And that's a very common phrase. Journey worker means you have the experience and the skills in the field. So apprenticeship should always be connected to the industry. It's an industry-led program that's connected to the workplace. When I am speaking with businesses about starting apprenticeship programs, the one that I most look at are the ones that already have great training programs, because they're already partway there in building and mentoring their staff. And one of our local hospitals is one of the people that I'm talking to, and I'm looking at the robust training program that they already offer and thinking, oh, well, this fits so nicely. You already have a progressive wage scale and great career progression. So once you finish tech level 1, you can go to tech level 2, and then there might even be a third level that the journey worker goes to. So we like to see that people can build and grow in a career to build an apprenticeship program. One of the other things that is integral in apprenticeship programs are safety standards. And so each industry has a work process schedule for each field. Those work process schedules line out everything across the nation that's required in that area. So let's say you have a plumber. They will all take the same basic things and have some of the same basic requirements. They have to be mentored for a certain number of years by someone who is a journey worker in the field. And so those are DOL requirements for apprenticeship. Anything less is not apprenticeship. It is also approved and registered with the DOL. Our state is still an Office of Apprenticeship state, so the federal government does approve those programs. So registered apprenticeship has been around for over 100 years, but the Apprenticeship Act was signed into being back in 1937 here in our country. So it's a time-tested model. We know that apprenticeship can be a tool to help prevent turnover in positions. People know that when you're investing in their learning, that they become a strong part of the team. We are noticing that increased productivity and all sorts of great return on investment that I'll talk about a little later. So you learn and earn with apprenticeship, and hopefully that keeps people from going into the debt that we saw so many people in my generation go into to go to college and build their careers. So you may still be going to college, but you may be going more slowly and building it up with stackable credentials and college classes that will lead to a degree. But you're also gaining that experience as you go through the process. So apprenticeship is commonly thought of as being union, but apprenticeship can also be non-union. It can be a consortium of employers coming together, or professional organization can come and have multiple employers under it to sponsor an apprenticeship program. There are so many different ways that it can be put together that if you think you might have a good program, I would love to chat with you about how it can be built into one. Because we know that apprenticeship can close the skills gap that we see across the workforce. We have seen so many shortages across every sector, and I know that apprenticeship can be the answer to us growing the people that we need here in our state. And so apprenticeship affects every different sector across the workforce, whether it's manufacturing, construction, healthcare, IT, even administrative positions can be apprenticed. And one of our newest apprenticeship areas in Alaska is teacher apprenticeship. And we have 2 school districts. Well, actually, we have 5 school districts approved, because one of the first school district that was approved is a conglomerate of 4 districts for BBRCTE. And so that's the Lake and Peninsula and the Dillingham, the Southwest Alaska area. And Bering Straits was also recently approved. So we are really excited to see the growth that's about to cut loose with teacher apprenticeship for us to grow our own teachers across the state. We know There's a lot of folks out there working in the schools, in the paraprofessional setting that are highly skilled, and they may already have part of a degree. Probably many of them might even be 3/4 of a way to a degree. So we can build programs with enough on-ramps to address those folks who have lots of experience. And then it can also be built to foster youth coming out of like Ed Rising and moving directly into their school districts. I think for our rural communities, this is going to be a game changer. So many of you are familiar with some of our different areas of apprenticeship. These are just a few of the occupations. There are over 1,000 different occupations that are already approved by the Office of Apprenticeship. And these are some of the most common ones that we see in our state. So in construction, transportation, and hospitality. Now, that being said, these are not the only areas. New areas are being added all the time. And we know that one of the fastest growing areas is the healthcare occupations in our state. And so our colleagues over at Alaska Primary Care Association and the Alaska Health Education Consortium and Alaska Behavioral Health are growing people in the medical field. And one of these days, I'm hoping to see a nursing apprenticeship in our state. But there's lots of different ways we can grow medical careers in our state. And I am hoping that apprenticeship will be part of that conversation soon. Many other states are already doing it, and I think Alaska can be a big mover and shaker. And we're a small state and we have lots of great people. So if anybody can pull it off, I think it's us. So where does apprenticeship fit in? Many of you might be in the secondary schools, and I know one of the things you run into is, how do I get my youth employed? And where is apprenticeship on this whole work-based learning continuum? And so we start with some of those low intensity things and exploration. Maybe that is classroom speakers. Maybe it's networking and roundtable discussions. Maybe you already have an incredibly active advisory council that can be a part of it. Oh, whoops, I lost my VPN. Bear with me. Sorry about that, everyone. So as you think about where you are, getting industry involved in your CTE programs and in your school are that's your starting point. You may already have people involved. And so as I'm working on the SAFE grant, I may be reaching out to you to see who you're already working with and try to help you build better connections to potential apprenticeships. Because we know employers have severe shortages across every sector. Training people. There may be a little less funding than there used to be, unfortunately, but we are creative as a state And I think if we all start coming together, that as grants come up, we should be able to collaborate to obtain them. So my conversation has taught me that there's still this big abyss between the workforce and the school system. And so my SAFE grant is hopefully going to build pathways to connect the two together. So I will be reaching out to CTE programs and school districts. So if you are here today and you work for a school, drop me a hello and tell me who you work for. I am starting a spreadsheet that's becoming a database, and hopefully I will be able to then connect employers that are looking for people back to your program. So hopefully we can move into that more career prep side with these employers where they're doing more job shadowing and even reverse job shadowing. I had to go look and see what that was. That's where a higher up, a supervisor might train with a subordinate so that they better learn what the day-to-day tasks are to improve their work environment. So we know youth get inspired by doing work site tours and externships that might be part of their CTE program. Maybe that's a capstone experience their senior year, or an internship, or even an apprenticeship. So on that work-based learning continuum, we always want to be building that career awareness in people. And then we want them to get that deeper dive into career exploration. One of the ways we explore career exploration with registered apprenticeship is through pre-apprenticeship. And for my secondary folks, your CTE programs can be considered part of pre-apprenticeship. What pre-apprenticeship means is that it is actually connected to an apprenticeship program. And so it gives people a deep dive into exploring that career with hands-on experiences, maybe, and then maybe even through work. So schools are doing really creative things with student-run businesses and with collaboration from local industry. And so building that up is a logical starting place for apprenticeship. So whoever these partners already are in your school district, those are the ones that the light bulb should be going on. That's the obvious partner to try to work with to build an apprenticeship. And what that would look like is that they might have those progressive positions that might be open for youth to earn and learn with that company. And so it might start out as I know the Anchorage School District is doing their 60-hour training, and then that could move into like an internship, and internships can move into apprenticeships. So there's all sorts of ways you can grow it. I just encourage you to consider it. And if you have questions, be willing to explore it with me and some of my colleagues. WIOA Youth can also be a part of that work-based learning continuum. That is one way that we can attract employers because 20% of that has to be to pay for wages. People are always asking me, well, can you pay wages? I cannot out of apprenticeship, but sometimes WIOA Youth can. So we might have to braid different things together to make a program work well. And so when we're thinking of youth apprenticeship, we might think of it starting in the junior or senior year. And by their senior year, maybe they're working for that business 2 days a week and learning on the job. What my CTE teachers were telling me is that 50% of their youth are already working. And so my goal is that they should be working in the field that they're training in, because this will give them better leverage for better jobs sooner in their careers. And so we want them to be building up those hours that they're working in their senior year, so that by the time they graduate, they're ready to work for that company full time. And that will completely break that cycle of us losing youth to the lower 48. We know that apprenticeship equals earning power. So I'm going to tell you that these are 2022 wages, and I believe the number that I recently saw is that when people finish an apprenticeship program, they're making 82,000 a year now. So those numbers are a bit up as wages have been rising. And so we know that 96% of those who complete an apprenticeship are still working for that company a year later. It breeds longevity in employees. I would say many employees stay with companies for the long term because that company has invested in them and mentored them. So there are many benefits to apprentices, and having a great job is one of those things. We know that across the nation, the average starting salary is around $80,000. And that's equivalent to those earning a 2 or 4 year degree. So with apprenticeship, you may not be all the way to a degree, but you may have started one. Those who do apprenticeships in Alaska and complete their apprenticeship are are able to take that apprenticeship certificate from the feds and go to the university for 60 credits for I think it's 60 credits toward their, or 45 credits toward a 60 credit associate degree at UA at the University of Alaska. So that is something to give you a leg up towards an associate degree once you finish an apprenticeship. So that would be credit by certificate. We know that apprentices have better earning power than those who do over a lifetime, than those who don't complete training. So employers benefit from apprenticeship very deeply, and they get employees that have a higher productivity and knowledge transfer because they have been trained by the employer, and the employer tailored that training to their needs in the very beginning. And we know that when you reduce turnover, you're reducing payroll costs that you are spending on training and retraining people over and over again. Apprenticeship can also provide a pipeline of skilled workers. And I think one of the things that businesses are starting to think about is, as they have older workers retiring and leaving the workforce, that they want someone to train with that journey worker and learn their skills from them before they leave. And I'm finding a bigger willingness from employers to create their own pipeline as I talk to them. And so we know that apprenticeship is a very systematic approach to training because it requires that instruction, external instruction, um, and the mentoring that we want to see all those little boxes checked that they've covered all of the skills required in that type of job. And so be sure to check with us if you're starting or considering starting an apprenticeship program, because like I said, the grants change over time. And we want to be able to work with people or refer them to grants that we might know. So we know that as employers invest in apprentices, that for every dollar they spend, they're getting $1.47 back in productivity. And so we see that the costs, the benefits far outweigh the costs. And so there's a lot of indirect benefits that employers are finding that they can't really put a dollar value on as they have apprentices coming up through the system. And so those unforeseen positive consequences of apprenticeship are an improved company culture, because that onboarding process, you are bathing that apprentice in your company culture, and you're improving your pipeline of skilled workers. Our unions work with pre-apprenticeship programs, and that gives them a constant supply of people who are trying things out. I saw my buddy Nicole with Alaska Works here. They're some of my greatest partners on apprenticeship, because they do the construction academies, giving that week-long introduction to an apprenticeship program. And then those folks, many of them can go on to an apprenticeship program after that training. Or they might learn, oh, this is not the right thing for me, and try something different. So that pipeline can create an ongoing source of new people. We know that the coworker productivity, that because folks have been mentored by their coworkers are invested in them. And that has created future manager development, and more innovation, and a lot of reduced downtime, because everybody is on the same page. So, where can you find more information? I will drop my information in the chat, but Trends Magazine, our research and analysis folks, always put out a great annual outlook, and we know that education, mining, and healthcare are three of the top growing fields this year. And so they were some of the top growing fields last year, and those are three that are near and dear to my heart and that I'm looking to grow. So Alaska Jobs and ONET and AKCIS, Career One Stop, and We Build Alaska are all great sources of reliable career information. If you have any questions, I want you to not hesitate to reach out to me. As a matter of fact, if you're in a school district, please reach out to me and say hi. Drop me your contact information and let me know what program or programs you're working with and what district you're in. I would love to, if I haven't talked to you yet, I will be trying to talk to everybody this year in all 54 districts. any questions?
Thank you so much, Sheena. Do you have access to a chat box?
Let me. I do now. Oh, hi, Raina.
Hi,
I haven't seen you in a long time.
I know. I went from BBRCTE and I'm now down the executive director of Project Grad and you're singing my song.
Yay. Well, excellent. I would love to get in touch with you. Let me drop my contact information into
Awesome.
the chat box real quick. And yeah, I'd love to chat with you more. So I'm sure I will be busily getting many of you on my schedule here soon.
There is one question about, is there a convenient go-to State of Alaska webpage to visit where one can view all of the current apprenticeship opportunities?
So we don't have that yet because that just changes so quickly. Deadlines come up and expire quickly. One of the places I always recommend is going through Alaska Works Partnership. They have a great page with the construction deadlines, always updated on their page. And that's a great way to know what's coming for construction. Other places, it depends on when they have openings. And because apprenticeship is job-based, it is, based on that job being there for someone to go into. So, Wiley, is it something that currently enrolled high school students can participate in? Yeah, you kind of missed a bunch. So
Sorry, I
so
had a
maybe. It depends. Like I said, because apprenticeship is always a job, it
yes.
depends on what's available in your area. And so every region is going to be different.
Yeah.
And but that doesn't mean that you don't have the beginnings of a great pre-apprenticeship program in your area that could be.
Okay, I guess that's more of what I was kind of trying to get after. I'm the CT instructor and I cover all the CT stuff for our 7 sites. And
Oh, wow.
so yeah, it's a new role of this year. So I was just
So
trying to figure out like internships or get kids out there. And I apologize for missing it,
yeah,
but
no. So I did not get my contact in the chat.
I was able to get the rest of my morning cleared up, but I couldn't get those 2 classes this morning gone.
And that is the life of our teachers, wearing all the hats and doing all the things. So thank you all for doing all the things that you're doing, because without you, I don't know what our state would do. Um, but where are you at, Wiley?
I'm with the Iditarod area school district, so I'm based in Grayling, but I
Okay.
cover Shaglock, Anvik, Holy Cross, uh, Nikolai, Takatna, and McGrath.
So, um, I kind of said it earlier, but my goal is to reach out to all 54 school districts this year. And so literally, if you work for a school district, blow up my inbox today with your contact information. And if your websites, whatever information you'd like to drop me on your program, because I'm going to be reaching out to you to collect that information anyway. And one of the things that I am looking at are those CTEPs, your career and technical education programs of study, because those big 2 year programs are the ones that I'm most excited about because they dovetail really nicely into apprenticeship programs.
That's
And
my hope and dream.
yeah, yeah. And I want to know who your community partners are. I was just visiting a friend out in Bethel, and as we're going to the store and as I'm coming into the airport, and I'm going, oh, look, I need to talk to these 2 airlines and make sure they've got apprenticeships with the school district, so I want to know who the movers and shakers are in your regional areas. I keep trying to explain to the feds what rural really means. And I'm like, well, in Alaska, rural means you take a jet to a hub. And then you're getting on a little plane. And then you're probably getting on a snow machine or a boat at some point. So we don't have, 80% of our schools are off the road system. So I'm trying to convey to them what on and off the road system is really like and how that is different from rural Iowa, where you can drive an hour and be in a city because they have no concept of it. But, but for us, for me, I know that I want to know who you're working with in your little community. Who are your employers locally that you may have a plumber that's already working in your community? He might be a mom and pop plumber and only able to take one apprentice. But that's okay. That's how this starts. It's a very grassroots thing. Apprenticeship, it can serve a mom and pop business and it can serve a giant corporation. And it does. So it's highly flexible in some ways. And that, we can bring a school district could be its own sponsor and sign up employers under it. So let's say you're teaching electrical, plumbing. What else are you teaching, Wiley?
So I teach it all. Like I got fake babies. I do a parenting class. I do practical skills, life skills class. I do welding. I do construction. I technically can do some basic technology stuff, but I leave that up to Excel or somebody else because I don't know all that. But
So like Excel would probably be, are my Excel people here? You could be an apprenticeship sponsor and sign employers up under you and teach some of these skills. There's there's endless opportunity for apprenticeship in our state. And the feds are beginning to get behind it and grow it more federally too. And so we're seeing more that they're looking at building apprenticeship into federal government positions as well. So I'm hoping that that will grow exponentially too, since so many of our jobs around the state are federal as well. So that's my hope. So yeah, if you have like a big federal, so I saw Fish and Wildlife was big when I was in Bethel, and I'm like, oh, I need to reach out to that office and see if we can get something growing to grow people who actually live in the community to do those jobs instead of folks flying in to do those jobs. So let's see. I'm scrolling back through notes. Sorry, you guys. And shout out any other questions you might have. Can students call you for questions? Okay, so I am not normally the ones for students to call, but boy, it kind of depends. Usually you would go through your job center, and the job center in Anchorage has counselors on the front lines that work directly with job seekers and can sometimes provide that one-on-one guidance for what apprenticeship openings are available. And so the Midtown Job Center is 907-269-4700, and then ask for apprenticeship. But if you're looking at, so even businesses can talk to them too. Has DOL considered, tell me more about language apprentice. I don't understand what you might be looking for there.
Well, there's the UAA, and I'm not sure if UAF also have language certification programs now within Alaska Native Studies. And so then they're also trying to place teachers, language speakers into the school districts and things, or have programs. Here in the, I'm out in the Copper River area. We have a funding for an immersion school for language speakers. So I was just checking if there was anything like that of programs that we could put them in.
There's not a program to put them in, but it's certainly a program you can build. So we can't do all the lifting. If you want it, it can be built, but you might have to be part of building it with your school district. There's got to be jobs, because apprenticeship's always a job. So as you're looking at that, I would think about what would the entry level job look like for that. So you might have more if it's in the schools, I'm just kind of spitballing. You may have a different idea. So you might have folks in the like your younger apprentices working with the elementary age folks, and then building up to work with the high school. So it's something that could be built if there's a job to go with it. I could see it being very valuable, like in the hospital system too, or in clinics. So,
Yeah.
and I'm trying, so how do we figure that out? Let me pull up a browser. So if we go to apprenticeship.
So for jobs, is it even if it's just one job? I mean, our immersion school is maybe gonna have one teacher.
Yeah. So like I said, even like a mom and pop plumber can have one apprentice. So, and once you've built it, you might have that apprentice for several years before they journey out. Startup info. So there's apprenticeship.gov, and that is one of our main, that's the federal website for apprenticeship. And so where we go with that is, as an employer, you might come and say to Occupation Finder to look at approved occupations. Ah, yes, in villages where nobody's actually doing it. That is a challenge, but we have worked with Office of Apprenticeships so that there can be more remote mentoring. So if mentoring has to come through video or through someone in a neighboring village because you've got one guy for the region that is trained and a journey worker, yeah, we'll have to get creative for our rural areas, but there is latitude to get creative. So here you might look at industry, educational services. Thank you, Dominica. So yeah, this apprenticeship occupations, this one's a great place to go to say, is this apprenticeable? And if we look up educational services, so area ethnic and cultural studies teachers, that could be part of it. So that could certainly be apprenticeable. I'm not sure why it's behaving so badly. Archivists could be another. So if I see you're with Atna, so like if Atna wanted to have an archivist, you know, these are things that could even lead out to help someone on their pathway, like to becoming an archaeologist even.
Oh,
So-
yeah, we run a cultural center, so we need even tourism and I don't know what else, but yeah, archivists and yeah, everything related.
Yeah. So, you know,
Museum, I guess.
and so then you might look up that as well. So let's go search by occupation. So if I type in museum, you see all the different things that pop up. Guides and docents, escorts, up to curators. And so someone might start as a technician, helping preserve things, and then might move up to archivist and then curator. So yeah, think about all of the different pathways that you're trying to create. And as you're identifying the different jobs on there, you can look them up here and see if they're already. So let's go to, so which one did I think? Museum technician. Let's go there first. And then this one is not currently approved yet by Office of Apprenticeship. But it kind of shows you some of the ones that are. So some of the artists are already approved. I'm surprised librarians and media and curators is not approved yet. But that does not mean that it couldn't be approved. But that does go through the Office of Apprenticeship, and that can be a long process for someone to tackle.
Sheena, I wish we had a little more time to go over all this very important information, and I appreciate deeply your time and your expertise. Please, so we are recording this session and it will be available on our YouTube channel, ACPE's YouTube channel, but we still need your contact information. You started typing in the chat box.
I thought
Please.
I could drop it in.
You did. Maybe I just never saw it. I apologize. But thank you so much. Please make sure to connect with Sheena. And let's see more apprenticeship programs developed in our regions to better serve our Alaskan students.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheena. I appreciate you. And we are jumping. Before we do, I will stop the recording. Yes.